Okay, I think that we will start. Welcome everybody at the RICOMET conference. This is the 10th conference of a primary gathering of social science and humanities researchers in ionizing radiation research in Europe. And today we are really happy that we are here also in co-organization with the amazing project, RadoNorm project, managing risks from radon and norm. And now is the session where we will present even better project. It's RadoNorm Citizen Science Incubator. Before we start to discuss, let's see what the Citizen Science Incubator is.
Thank you. Hi. A few years ago, my grandfather fell seriously ill from lung cancer. Luckily, he slowly recovered. Discovered that his smoke tested high levels of radiogas. Unfortunately, the site that's in our isolation contributes to over 21,000 cases of lung cancer in Europe every year. High radon-prone areas is easy problem. This is sadly reality motivating me to join the RadoNorm Citizen Science Incubator, a community of over 300 citizen scientists from various European countries.
What is radon? Radon is a natural, colorless, odorless, invisible to human cells.
Released by soils and building material. It is dangerous for human health because it's the second cause of lung cancer.
The radon is dangerous because radon emits radioactivity, and so it goes into one of the leading causes of cancer. RadoNorm brings together scientists from different and diverse disciplines, from social sciences, epidemiology, engineering, radiobiology, dosimetry, chemistry, physics to medicine. Of course, we academics involve stakeholders in our research, but we recognize the potential of citizens' involvement going beyond traditional academic boundaries. This led to the creation of the Citizen Science Incubator. As a result, every citizen science project developed in our incubator is uniquely crafted with its own research question, enriching the academic research undertaken in RadoNorm.
Our objective in RadoNorm Incubator is to develop the basis for a citizen science model in the field of radon and support local communities and regions in developing their own citizen science projects. For this, we tested the model in 4 countries. In France, citizens tested an online tool for radon diagnostics to identify entry points of radon in their houses. In Hungary, secondary school students designed a sensor to measure radon levels in schools, coupled with monitoring CO2 emissions. In Ireland, citizens crafted DIY toolkits to mitigate radon levels. Norway used an extreme citizen science approach, and citizens themselves decided to develop guidelines on how to perform remediations themselves. These 4 pilot projects were initiated from RadoNorm partners. Based on this experience, we invited local communities in high radon priority areas to apply for funding to conduct citizen science projects in their communities. There are now 7 ongoing citizen science projects in different countries in Europe, which are bottom-up grassroots initiatives. We are now evaluating these projects and noting lessons learned to ensure the RadoNorm Incubator is sustainable over time.
This chamber is sealed from the outside world pretty much every way, so we can detect only what's going on inside the chamber with the active radon detector. And we also have a radio block in there, which when radio decays, it decays the radon. So we can prove this with the detector.
Our project, RadoNorm Aerosol, aims to develop an unpredictable measurement device suitable for citizen science measurements. This can help us provide more livable environment in our homes.
We trained them on how to install radon gas dosimeter in their home, office work, or in schools. And we collect data on room school, office work, and work.
Data detectors, passing detectors.
Citizen scientists from the RadoNorm project in Spain have measured the concentrations they are exposed to both at their homes but also at their workplaces
In our project in Slovenia, we have a team of scientists that are very much actively involved in the project. And active involvement means, among others, that volunteers not only host sensors in their homes, but they also participate in the design of the measurements, the interpretation of the results, and are actively involved also in planning and testing of solutions to reduce radiant concentrations in their homes.
Our integrated requirements of diverse community. We engage the citizen scientists at all levels, from ground testing to extreme citizen science. Our citizen science activities are spread on TikTok, Instagram, WhatsApp, and many more. We have
I am citizen scientist.
I am citizen science.
I am the citizen scientist.
I'm a citizen scientist.
I am a citizen scientist.
I am citizen scientist.
I am a citizen scientist.
I'm citizen scientist.
the community and the RadoNorm Incubator helps to lower radon related liver cancer in Europe. Contributing to the EU Meeting Cancer Plan and the new European Foundation.
We are
Really? So now you've seen a summary of the 7 ongoing citizen science projects and the 4 pilot citizen science projects within RadoNorm in the framework of RadoNorm. And here we have, you might recognize them from the videos. So the actresses and actors in the citizen science projects. And we are going to take the opportunity to talk to them, to ask them questions, not to present the projects because it has been summarized already. So we have here David Kochman from RadoNorm Law, the RadoNorm Citizen Science Project in Slovenia, Clara Massetti from OCRA, the Citizen Science Project in Italy, Darius Aksamit from Poland, RadoNorm project. We have Alba Beiro from Spain, the RadoNorm project. We have Catalina Antunes from Radar in Portugal, and we have Alzbeta Durekova from the project Radon GPS in Slovakia. Shall I repeat again?
And Veronica?
And Veronica Polanek-Roma, she's online. And Veronica was the leader of the Citizen Science Project in Hungary, started as a pilot project and continued now. It's an ongoing project with schools. So you see we have a diversity of also citizen scientists, either schools or adult population or younger population. So my first question to these initiators of the citizen science project here is really what did citizen science do during these projects? What was their goal? What they are actually doing? So if you want to start.
Sure.
Yes?
Thank you. So our challenge as researchers here in Slovenia was to really actively involve citizens in all phases of the research. This means that first we had to organize different workshops where we would teach citizens, the participants, volunteers, basics about radon because they didn't know much about it. And based on this new knowledge, which includes also the possibility in terms of the tools, sensors that could be used, they helped co-designing the experiment. They figure out places and time frames where they would put their sensors and start measuring. Then later on in the project, they were involved in new workshops where we discussed about the data interpretation. We taught them how to see the trends in charts, how to perform some experiments like ventilation and changing of indoor conditions in their houses with the help of low-cost air quality sensors where they could see the data in real time, and based on that they could decide to play with the conditions a little bit, and then they were investigating how this affects the radon behavior in their homes. And at last were some selected, the most problematic houses. They were also included in the actual mitigation, of course, with the help of the professionals. And I'm happy to inform you that we managed to mitigate quite a few examples in the Bela Krajina region, which is in the southeastern part of Slovenia, which was known to be a problematic region in Slovenia in terms of rain. This is very big about the involvement of citizens.
Thank you. Meanwhile, when you are giving the microphone, I would like just to say that we are collecting also questions or comments online. Here we have Warren and Mabel. They are behind of the computer waiting for the participants around Europe to send questions or comments about this. And also here in the room, we have quite some audience. Please, in the next round, you will have opportunity to ask or to comment related to this. But now, please, floor is yours.
We managed to involve a wide variety of citizen scientists because we involved workers, inhabitants, and students of Abbadia Conservatore, which is a little town in central Italy. And they attended an initial training on how monitor gas radon, what is it, and the health risks. They placed their dosimeter in schools or workplaces or houses, and then they withdrew these passive templates we used, and together we interpreted the data and analyzed the data with a final public event with them. Thank you.
Hi, in Poland, we work in academia high school, so with 15-year-old citizens, and for them it was also the first in their life like regular lesson about the radiation. So we wanted not to leave it as it is in the textbook, where the radon is like a single paragraph, even if you are on an advanced level in physics. So we wanted to basically do the three things. In first place, of course, measure the radon concentration, but also to show them how the devices that we're using actually work. So instead of treating this as a black box that in some mysterious ways tells you if the level is 200 or 500 or whatever, we went to laboratories and we dismantled some pieces of equipment. Fortunately, we have budgets for this, and we like get deeper inside the process. But also in the name of the project, we have this hunt. So we were in a hunt to check where the radon is present, and it was kind of a riddle who will get the highest concentration through their detectors. So they are chasing the basements or the different underground places. So they use the initial knowledge that we gave them to check where actually the concentration is the highest. But also within this hunt, we were able, thanks to the funding, to do some trips around the Poland, and for example, go to underground facilities like the Książ Castle or the depleted uranium mines, to also learn a bit of the history connected to the mining, but also to the radiation exposure that is for those people occupational radiation exposure. And the last component was because we were working with relatively small, like the smallest group of people in the project, but still we wanted to have an impact, and because of this we set up a social media account that was run by students, so we can have this multiplier effect with peer-to-peer education. So yeah, rather activity concentration, like those results was a part, but actually the process to obtain those numbers was the core part of that project.
Thank you. So I'm from Spain. Over there, one of our main objectives was to create quite a diverse community of people interested in measuring radon concentrations with a different approach. It was the first time that we tried to measure both at home and at workplace, as we spent so many hours of our time in both places.
And in this case, citizen scientists, obviously, they started with different activities to spread the word about the project. They got engaged in the project, and they started measuring, obviously, like my colleague said. There was 3 months period where they measured radon concentrations on both places. When they left home, they started measuring at the workplace and vice versa. And after that, we tried to engage them in a higher level of citizen science. So they started to interact collaboratively with the project and to learn how to interpret the data they collected, and also to know how to do it by themselves. Finally, the project is gonna be it's going to continue in the future because there are several places where we would like to measure a little bit more, and we will continue working with these citizen scientists that they are still engaged with the project.
So in Portugal, we started with the premise that local campaigns work best than national campaigns to measuring radon. So the main objective of our project was to measure houses in the inland part of Portugal that was poorly characterized when we have done the national campaign. And the idea was to put students from 3 schools as a driven force and implementing the communication strategy to reach their communities. To seek to distribute 300 detectors, radon detectors. We managed to distribute all the detectors. Almost 300 detectors were returned to the laboratory. We have very good results because almost of the detectors were come with a result, or it has been set up properly. And at the end, we think that it was a success because we managed to monitor almost 300 houses. Let's see what about remediation, because it will be the next step if we can. What we are trying is to, in the final sessions that we are doing now for the communities, is to show them that they can get information, they can reach us to help them, at least with information, because unfortunately we don't have budget to remediate their houses, but provide them information, put them in contact with the construction companies or remediation experts, and it's trying to feel that they can count on us to continue the process, and hopefully we will increase also mitigation rates. But at least measurement rates, it was very much better than in the national campaign that we did. So I think I can say it was a success, and we are hopefully replicate this in other parts of the country.
Thank you. Here I represent Slovak Republic with the acronym of our project was RadoNorm GPS, and to be involved several citizen scientists. We have citizen scientists. We have citizen scientists from the local municipality. Then we had citizen scientists from the secondary construction school. We involved the teachers of the secondary construction school and also the students. And also we had student science from the Slovak University of Technology, from the Faculty of Civil Engineering. We were surprised that we need help, all the citizen scientists in all our steps, because they are really involved in this project, and they helped us from the beginning to the end. For example, for the citizen scientists from the local municipality help us
to recruit the citizen scientists, because we didn't know the local community, behavior, etc. So they helped us with this, and also teachers of the secondary construction who helped us a lot to recruit the students. Then the citizen scientists from the local municipality helped us also to find a place where to organize the kickoff meeting and final meetings, and helped us a lot with the distribution of the passive detectors, because we distributed passive radon detectors and also active one. And we were in the position that we have to teach how to take data from the active radon detectors. So again, our stakeholder and citizen science help us to change to distribute these detectors, and also they teach each others how to take the data. Then they helped, and the citizen scientists also, they were very active also in the collection of the data. And the students was another big challenge for us, because first of all, we had to, not we, citizen scientists from the Slovak University of Technology, maybe they teach them about the radon issue, because they didn't know, I can say, anything about the radon. So they helped again students, because the students, their main aim was to were designed radon remedial measures. This project, and this project now are available on the web page of the NATIA. Thank you.
Thank you, Elzbieta. Veronica, do we hear each other?
Thank you. Do you hear me?
Yes, I will put the microphone so that it will be possible to hear you. Please, can you tell us what exactly the citizen scientists in Hungary did with aerosol, RadoNorm aerosol?
Okay, thank you. So our pilot project's aim was to develop a toolkit which doesn't measure only radon, but other air pollutant components also, to check the environment from these aspects also. So students and their teachers were invited as citizen scientists in our project, and we tried to integrate them in all phases of development and measurement and dissemination of the results. So we have now three toolkits up and running, measuring radon and various components. Of course, there is still issues with this toolkit, but we have a version which is now usable. So measurements are up and running continuously in a school and within students and teachers' homes. And we have a website where we try to put up all our results and the documentation of this toolkit, so that it is available for anybody who is interested in.
Thank you. It's amazing. You did so much. However, you all started from a research question. Research questions have been presented in the first video that we look, but we are interested now about the findings, about the real results. We are a RadoNorm project, so what the results show to you, what kind of measurements did you find out? But we are also interested, because I know that you had quite some adventures and some no results. Please share these anecdotes also with us. So Veronica, first you maybe. Veronica is in the United States, so probably it's in the middle of the night or morning now, sorry.
It's early in the morning, but it's okay. So, yeah, we have a lot of measurements considering these components, which is a good result that we didn't find any really polluted areas among those which we have already tested. I think this is really good. However, measurements have also troubles. So I think this is a really important task, which we should talk about, is that if we are doing measurements with those people who are not experts in measurements, there will be always something going wrong. They won't make a picture, they won't take a note, they forgot to, I don't know, plug it in. So we have a tons of data losses, but I think it is really important that after we have a measurement done, we should check and give feedback as soon as possible, so that we can, if we had some problems, we can immediately correct it or do the measurement again. So I think it is really good to work with students, because they are really, really interested and motivated. And we took our results to two student competitions, which they could present what they did, and this was really successful. So the work is still going on, and more students are involved. Of course, there is a change between the students because they leave the high school or they say that they have not much time, but we can keep going on.
Thank you. Also, just to mention that in Hungary, on the first stage, they developed the tool itself, this in the box, in the plastic box, the measurement, they combine it with CO2 meter, and then they said, okay, it needs to be more user-friendly, and so now they went on the second level, in the higher level. So this is also a nice result, I believe. We will see what else we will say at the end. So, Arvita, what are the findings, the results?
Okay, and we are talking about the result. We are currently, can you hear me? Yes, okay. We collected the data from the active and passive radon measurement. When now we are in the situation that we still didn't finish the comparison of this type of measurement, but according to our result, I can say that around 10% of the measurement were above our reference level. In my country, we have reference level 300 becquerel per cubic meter as an annual average. And when we are talking about the students, it was most challenging part of our project, I think. Because student design tailor-made radon remediation measures, and really different type. And I was surprised how they moved forward, because they didn't really, when they started their work, they didn't know really anything about the radon. And we teach their teacher and also the student about the radon issue. And then finally, we collected 14 projects, really different types, and these projects are available, free available on the web page of the non-government organization of radon. And also on that page, one can find, you can find, if you are interested, also the result from the active radon detector measurement. When I want to speak about the student activities, students finally we were very happy, because two students decided to prepare one project, tailor-made radon remediation project, for the secondary school competition. And they were successful in this competition, and they took second place in the statistics self-government region, and they were advanced in the national competition, national round, and in this national round they took the 6th place. So we are happy for this. Thank you.
Can I continue? As Tanya said, funny things can happen during this project. So we have some detectors that were not even open, and it were returned to us just the same that we sent. We have one that a dog and almost eat them. So yeah, funny things happen, but at the end we managed to recover close to 90% of the detectors. So I think it's a good result. The main findings that we have with the analysis of the detectors is that the results are consistent with the susceptibility areas that we study, because we were study high susceptibility area, that is a radon-prone area, and another one with low susceptibility. So the results were consistent with this identification. So at the end, we expect to include the results in the radon map that we have in Portugal. What about the students' work? I was amazed, and my colleagues too, because they have done such good work, and they worked a lot for this project, along with the other things that they have to study, to do in the school. They prepared a communication campaign to their community. They made a lot of presentations to their colleagues and to some associations in their municipalities. From the moment that we went to the schools and we explained what was the objective of the project, we talked with them about about radon. We explain what is radon, what are the health risks, how can we measure, how can we remediate. They prepared with this information and the other that they research. They prepared all the public sessions that we made in their municipalities, and they presented that were what. It's so, yeah, sorry. They prepared the public sessions, then they delivered all the information about radon, about how to measure, how we should use the radon detector in our houses. So I think at the end, at least students improved their knowledge about radon. So I think it was, I think these are the main findings that I want to say.
So from Spain, I think it's quite different to change from one country to other country and with all those projects in mind, but I will try to make it quite brief. We focus on several objectives from the citizen science point of view and also the scientific point of view. From the citizen science point of view, we realized about the urgent need of literacy regarding radon gas and the general solid. But it depended on the provinces, so we tackled 5 different provinces in Spain. Some of them have different geological, architectural characteristics, so they already know about this problem, but other provinces have no idea about this. So there's an urgent need, those kind of provinces where they live safe and sound. And yes, among all of them, we also realized that it was really beneficial to create that community in our project, where there was people with previous experience and people that were completely new, because the experienced people have that voice to the new ones, and the new ones were quite motivated about being part of the project. And from the scientific point of view, I will try to do my best in explaining them, as no, I'm not an expert. But, well, I realized that we distributed 2 types of detectors. First one are the common ones, the CR39, and other ones are allowed us to control those first detectors because they took more comprehensive measurements. So we draw some conclusions about the CR39 in order to control them and to compare the results between them. And also the most important finding of our project is that it was the first one that allowed to control the complete exposure of citizen scientists while they were at home and at workplace, so in different places, but the whole exposures of these people. And Luis, who is my colleague in the project, always tells me one kind of anecdote, but we really have people like this, is that if someone is working in a nuclear plant and where they take like the proper security measures, and this person develops some kind of cancer or illnesses regarding whatever, maybe society the first thing that they think is that the problem is at the workplace, but maybe they are discarding the idea that at their home they have like radon gas problems. So our project allows us to distinguish between these two different contexts, but to allow us to observe the whole context of a person before establishing the problem. Many other minor findings, but these ones are the better ones.
I wouldn't over-focus on the debate only on the dosimetric results because they were not maybe spectacular, because in general, in most places, the concentration was way below the reference level and more or less around the average in Poland, that is around 50 becquerels per meter cube. But what was really the most interesting part of the project was the journey. So apart from the results, how they were obtained. And as a scientific literacy training, it was invaluable for that we led for like 6 months to let people make mistakes and failures and carry on. So yes, we got some detectors that were stolen when we placed them in public places, and there was. We are able to create this emotional connection to the project because when you spend like 6 hours in the bus to go to the facility close to the border, and then you realize that you have not charged the batteries in your device. Now it's like you feel the emotion. Now it's painful, and now you see you failed, and you can do nothing about this. But next time you will think twice, and the same goes for sending detectors on time, for example, to laboratory. So again, if you show on paper the timeline, who cares about the deadlines? But when people, like most of the students actually bring the detectors, and like 2 students forgot. Now that again they see now that this is a problem because they are delaying the shipment to the laboratory, and so on and so on and so on. Or we there was a picture with me with the drill because we wanted also to measure the soil concentration, and we noticed that the plant was great. If we drill a hole, put the detector, and that's it. But when we place the detector, we heard like bloop. And we realized that like we have very shallow, like the ground water is very high in our vicinity, and no one expected this. And by the way, we noticed that it does not freeze in the winter. Again, it was something completely unexpected, and again and again and again we were encountering something that was unexpected. So there was a lot of frustration, a lot of surprise, and this is exactly what science is about this frustration, but about overcoming those frustrations. So I'm happy for those students that they could feel it, because again, about the outcomes, they can read this half paragraph in textbook, but now they feel that to write this half a textbook you need years and hundreds of people, and like this paragraph in textbook is a summary of all the frustrations of all the scientists, and now they are how they perceive the science changes if they not only read about it, it's easy, but if they attempt to do some of science.
In Italy, we managed to monitor 231 sites in workplaces, houses, and schools. And we found out that 21% of these monitored points had values above the threshold of 300 barrel per cubic meters, which is a very high value. the 21%, it's 49 places. So this data, the most important data is that in the middle school of Badia San Salvatore, we found out values of radon gas concentration in all the classrooms above this threshold. In all the classrooms, we monitor it, and in laboratories too. This is an important finding that had us to open a dialogue with authorities and to turn lights on and to underline the necessity to introduce better measures and an average year value and measurements of radon gas as the law recommends, and most of all to include local authorities and the mayor and the headmaster of the school in developing strategies and implementing mitigation measures, and also including training to workers and institutions. Right now, the Environmental Regional Authority is continuing our monitoring in most of the workplaces and schools and houses to collect a more complete value. And they are moving this middle school to another place. And yeah, the authorities are developing new strategies to find some points to mitigate this problem in this town. And another important not scientific result we collected is that before we started the project, the 40% of the population didn't know anything about radon gas. That was something that quite was surprising us. And we hope now the situation is better. Thank you.
I might be a bit biased because my background is not in radon research. Can you hear me now?
No.
The one now?
Yes.
What I was saying is that I might be a bit biased because my background is not in radon research. I'm more like a citizen science practitioner. So for me, definitely the most important outcome, the result of this project and activity is the empowerment of people and the increase of scientific literacy, as mentioned by my colleagues before. But of course, also I see a big added value of this citizen science approach, specifically in our region. We confirmed that the radon is an issue with like a very representative number of households involved, around 100, and almost half of them had problematic radon values. What is a good side of the story is that with simple mediation techniques like ventilation and understanding what and how the radon is behaving, this can be more or less solved. And as mentioned before, we solved some more severe problems with some more severe or serious mitigation measures. And I think what we learned both from the researchers' side and citizens is that the really understanding what is happening demands collaboration between both parties involved when it comes to interpretation of data, and simply we need each other. That will be very quick about the results. You also asked about the anecdote. I was really fascinated by this, I think, very smart citizen scientist who, after one of the initial meetings, she figured out what is the worst case scenario if you don't want to get rid of radon out of your house. And she acted accordingly, not ventilating, having the house closed the whole month while exposing the radon. at the end, she figured out that even in the worst case scenario, the levels are not problematic. And with that, she came and said, I'm done. I learned what I wanted to learn. And that's, I have to respect.
I remember we had quite a lot of meetings with this wonderful team where they exchange experience online. So it's great to meet you now in person. And I remember, Alzveta, when you were saying we had to to record a video for people to unpack the device because we realized that they were not measuring because basically they were not unpacking the device. So you see all types of anecdotes. So I now would like to give the opportunity to the audience here to ask questions if anyone has a question, because I think online also they have the opportunity, but they are not yet active. So, but here maybe you have some questions for, or some experience on citizen science of Radon. Oh, we have if you can introduce yourself, I think we know you, but for the audience online.
Thank you. My name is Wolfgang Wenger. I work for the Austrian Radon Center. My question would be, in your citizen science projects, you had to deal with different groups of people, like students and homeowners, or maybe authorities, or building professionals, or medical professionals. I was just interested in your experience. Which group was easy to deal with, which group was more skeptical regarding radon?
Who wants to disagree?
We were not facing this challenge in Slovenia because our group were a bit older people, and they were very happy to participate. They were recruited by our local partner, and when I compare the motivation of such a community compared to like urban settings, it's much easier to work with. In Ljubljana, for instance, where we do most of our other citizen science projects, people are somehow too busy, too fast, and it's hard to get them on board, or they quicker lose their motivation to participate. So in this regard, it was really a pleasure working with this specific group, and I will repeat it immediately.
I think the easiest group to deal with were the teachers and the youngers. Most difficult ones were the authorities, unbelievable, and people over 70s, principally for the communication phase, like dealing with also instructions and placing dosimeters and communicating with them when to recollect the dosimeter and when to take it back, because they had no emails, they didn't answer to the phone. So this one was the most difficult part.
Stationary, right? We didn't have this problem because we simply focus our attention on a very particular group, and I think this is a good thing to do, to simply tailor the project to the need of a particular community. So with teenagers, yeah, the TikTok account was a good idea that I would not recommend to 70 plus people, then rather, yeah, stationary accounts. So simply you need to tailor to the needs of the community, and that's it.
Well, in Spain, we have also a diverse community, people from the academia, people from nuclear plants, general public, from local communities, and also local authorities. But for your question, I wouldn't say there's a target group who went better than the other one, because it depended on the context of each person. I personally realized that people that already knew that they had a problem, they were completely engaged with the project, everything went super well. And the people that were learning about it and that were competing for these ones that were the most difficult to engage in the project. As I think that unfortunately, if we don't have the problem, there's some people that maybe is not so super interested on becoming part of something that is not with them.
In our case, I think we didn't face any problem or with any difficulty with some target group because the three schools were very much engaged in this, and I think it went very well. Also with the volunteers that did the public sessions and collected the measurements in their houses. So what can I say is that we are talking about three schools in a small region, but we found that it's very different to engage with each school. So I think we are always expecting that people are different, and the relation with them will be different because it's what happened. There are no there are not two persons that are equal. So, but I think we didn't have any problems in interacting or found any target audience more difficult than other. In one of the cases, we have more involvement of the municipality. We had representatives from the municipality. In the other two cases, it was not the case, but yeah, we didn't have any problems with the different groups.
Okay, we had a very broad citizen scientists and broad group of the citizen scientists, and I can't say that the communication was easy with the students and the communication was easy with the representative local municipality. Everybody is unique, recognized after this project, I can see. And it is not so easy to prepare the communication strategy for different groups. And so even we had some communication strategy. We had to compromise all time. And we have to think about it, why this is not working, what happened, why this teacher is not available. So then we had some talk, and after we had a talk with the principal of the secondary construction school, and he explained us the situation. And after that, we changed our mind and we changed again the strategy of the communication. So it is never-ending story, I can say, communication with different groups. Thank you.
Veronica, are you still online?
Yes.
Veronica, is online?
Yes.
Yes, Veronica, what about your experience? Were there any groups, stakeholder groups, that they were difficult to get in?
So as our project was also aimed to focus on high school students, I would say we didn't really had issues concerning this. Teachers were really easy to involve, and then all measurement participants and developing students were contacted via personal contact. So I would say it was easy for us to do so.
Fantastic. This is so much about the stakeholder engagement. It's easy. It's easy. So what's your question or comment?
No, my question is to the colleague, I think, from Slovenia. Yes. You mentioned that 50% of the house that you measure presented areas of living that were relevant, and that some sort of remediation was needed. And you mentioned about motivation, and the second one was understanding. You had you to elaborate on that. If I understood well, maybe I did not understand. And there were cases that something more, not aggressive, but something more deeper was needed. Could you elaborate more on how you communicate those things, how these things happen, and what kind of measures were these, how they were conducted? Curious about that.
Sure, I sort of expected this question, and like I said, my background is not in radon, so I asked my radon colleagues to provide me with some statistics. So I'm quoting now. No, but seriously, out of like 90 participants that were involved, like 50 of them, they had winter concentrations higher than 400 becquerels per cubic meter, and 10% of those are approximately even higher than 900 becquerels. Then, in the course of the project, we figured out that with proper ventilation on a daily basis, they can reduce these values by themselves significantly. I don't have the exact numbers. But then within the project, there was some money booked for this, and then we also get a local sponsor and a partner from the UK who is providing low-cost radon mediation measures was involved. And at the end, checking, I think, 10 of the most problematic households, and by problematic, I mean places where they had values up to 4,000 and so. 2 houses were selected for actual physical mediation, and this included the installation of the suction from the foundation and the ventilation system, and the measurements, whether this resulted in a positive outcome, are still ongoing, but first results are very positive. So we see, I have the numbers here, in one house decrease to around 50 becquerels, and in the really the problematic one, only to 500, but which is still way better compared to the 4,000. I think I answered your question. I made some.
Yes, we did. Thank you.
Is there any?
I'd say a huge thank you. I mean, it's just absolutely amazing work, and it's a real privilege to hear about it as well. And you've talked already about some of the findings that have come out for all of your different projects. And some of you have also talked about some of the impacts that the work, that the findings have gone on to have. And in some cases, you know, moving schools and things like that, really quite significant impacts coming out of the work that you have led. So thinking about impacts, I wanted to ask a question about your hopes for the future. So thinking about 5 years' time, you know, what would your hopes be for projects of this kind, for other kinds of approaches to citizen science, or even specifically in the topic area of radon? I don't mind, but it's just kind of getting your sense of, this is all amazing. I'm sure you have learned a lot, and lots of people have learned a lot, but you know, where would we like to be in the future? So where will this project get us?
Who wants to start? Difficult question.
No, it's a good question. If you ask what will we hope for future more funding, because then we can find more detectors and engage more people. But in my case, sorry for using phone, but I'm actually checking how many people are following our TikTok account right now. So I imagine that this project, when developed, will simply reach people that are completely not, that we don't know, we have no idea if they are in Poland or in different parts of the world, but we see when we post some video from our adventure, we see like hundreds or thousands people at least clicking and at least, you know, hearing about the topic. And so for me, I would wish to like develop this channel, because like I have also in Poland, we have plenty of institutes, laboratories, universities that are doing like science festivals and all of this, and it's a great job, but it's usually targeted to the adult audience in first place. So through the TikTok, I think we are able to target a younger audience. Secondly, we know that there is this huge spatial distribution of uranium concentration in the ground. And for example, in Poland, we know that like in most of the places in Poland, radon is not a main concern, but in the southwest, it is. So we are in the different projects. We are also like building school radon map of Poland. But again, there is this problem of communication, how to reach those schools. If it's like a logistic problem, and also to convince them to join. But with like snowball effect, the more school we have, and the more people talk about the projects, the easier it is to involve the teacher. So, and my final hope for like ideas with involvement or other teachers and in next projects is simply to put the radon in the regular curriculum in physics or biology, simply so we don't need to do all of this, because this would be a mundane part of teaching, that we do the science in the school.
Well, you said in 5 years? Okay. My hope would be that citizens share the same view as science, like the scientific view of different topics. In this case, would be radon gas, but in other scientific topics, that they share that point of view, that they feel part of science, that science is not only people with white clothes and messy hairs, that they can be part of that, and also that the transfer knowledge is not only from us to them, that we also leverage their previous knowledge from people that maybe that didn't have a formal studies on science. And yes, in case of the radon gas, to increase the mitigation rates and to more data collection in order to I don't know, increase literacy.
I would like to start by agreeing with what Tari said, because I think it will be very important to explore this thematic in books and in the classes in the school, because yeah, it's like you said, we have only one paragraph about radon in physics books. So I think it will be the most different goal that we have. But related with the project and the citizen science, I think this project was very well received in scholar communities. So I think our main goal now is to replicate this in other parts of the country, use more or less the same approach. Specifically related with this project, we want to see if people pursue the mitigation of their houses, because we found houses with high levels of radon. So our intention is to provide them some guidance to guide them to mitigate their houses. But yeah, in the far future, it will be to put more interest in radon and to inform people from young ages in the school. I think it will be a good approach.
Thank you. When I just was listening and thinking about the future, I think that future belongs maybe to the young generation. So I believe that our citizen science students will continue in their work related to the radon. And I remember as one the secondary construction school students told us that it was that one that took place at this competition, that he said to his father, "Hey father, now you have a project So you can do the remediation method according my project. So it was very, very nice from him. And I believe that mainly this young generation, this student from the secondary construction school, will increase the number or increase the willingness of the ordinary people to take remedial measures. Thank you. Well, in Italy, in this area where we did this project in 2006, ARPAT, which is the Regional Environmental Authority, implemented a monitoring project and they measured 39 points. This year we measured 231 points. And ARPAT is continuing monitoring, and ARPAT promised to enrich this observatory and to continue monitoring more points in all this area that is a priority area for gas radon concentration. And I think this kind of projects from the bottom up, thanks to the citizen science, permits and involvement of citizens and to spread knowledge that it's not sparing, but it's inclusive and permits to develop knowledge and to pass the message. The principal message, I think that it's important, is that there are exists mitigation measures that are accessible and affordable, and people doesn't know that. And I hope that this will be the pathway we will.
David, you want to say something? Veronica, maybe she wants to say something. Maybe Veronica.
Veronica, are you still
Yep.
online? I hope that you can also say what do you intend to expect for some time from now on about the project. Will the project go on? Will there be new projects?
Okay, thank you. So it's a really good question. I think our researchers always think that the project will go on and have a lot of ideas how to proceed. As we are developing a toolkit, it would be a really great outcome that if this instrument could be used more wide among students, schools, or any other communities. So this would be really good. Maybe it could be integrated in the education also, as it is it can be a self-made instrument, and it consists of locals, so it's not a big deal to buy these instrumentations and sensors which are involved. So this is our perspective.
Okay, thank you very much. Like Susan said, we are extremely also happy to have all these projects ongoing, to have initiated this process, to have launched a Citizen Science Incubator on Radon, which didn't exist. So, and we would like to thank very much these projects because it's amazing. They've done a lot of work. We can confirm that we asked them a lot as well, but they promised a lot in their proposals. So we asked them also a lot. And now it's also time to evaluate these projects. This is an important part, and we've heard this in other sessions. So this doesn't stop here, but we continue to evaluate. So we've sent surveys to the citizen scientists to know which is the level of awareness, of knowledge before and after. Are they going, do they intend to remediate? And how was the measurement? Did they measure? What did they find out? So we need to analyze all this data, but we are following this. Also, Mabel is doing a great work with interviewing different citizen scientists and the coordinator of this project. So we hope this incubator will grow, and we see already that some of them are taking over. We see in Italy it will continue. In Slovenia, they are extremely happy. In Poland, Darius, we see how energetic he is. He only needs resources, big resources, but we'll see. So we see in Portugal, in Spain, in Slovakia, in Hungary. And Hungary has also, we have a representative here, some connection with Romania, and they want to continue this. So this is excellent news for the project, for us, and I think it's already a success. And with that, if there are no more questions, we'd like now to give the floor to Ashley, very experienced in citizen science, to give his reflections and insights.
Yeah, thanks. I just remember, when I was first asked if I would be on the evaluation committee, and I sort of understood the basic outlines and intention of the project and looked at the proposals that were given to me. Was, thinking, wow, is this really going to be achievable? And I didn't really doubt necessarily, but I thought it was ambitious and that was very useful, but ambitious. And I also want to thank you all because I think you've achieved something significant in a lot of ways, not the least of which is you made an international network of citizen science for measuring radon. And of course, that's extensible. And I'm aware, of course, the project designers, Mary, Tanya, and others, and people who guided you throughout the project, including Mabel and everyone else, that was very important, I think. Clearly, although you probably could have had really good results even without that if you're on your own. I think you all, proved to be very, very competent. So, when SafeCast started, and this was 2011, citizen science existed. I mean, I'm thinking it didn't exist for radiation necessarily, but it existed for things like biodiversity, some climate, monitoring, temperature monitoring, certainly things like astronomy, which actually has a very, very long history of citizen science. But when we thought about what would be necessary to do, we felt that we would have to invent everything ourselves. And that was actually good for our project, because it meant we didn't feel that there was any pre-existing norms or standards or rule book or manual that would sort of limit or force us into a certain direction. And it was good for us, but it led to that kind of learning process that some of you have noted, especially failure, the importance of failure. And we had quite a lot of failures. And I think, part of our thinking became whatever we can do to lower the cost of failure. In other words, accept that as a part of the process, of the journey of this, including building community, of this interaction of personalities, of who's going to help whom when something goes wrong, who will be the first person to come up with the important improvisation that solves an important problem. This is a really, really positive dynamic in these projects. And I think, I saw there was like a little graph of rankings sort of things, I suppose, from, yes, this is a really wonderful thing, crowdsourcing, distributed intelligence, participatory science, extreme citizen science. I mean, this is interesting. And I'm thinking of the project, I guess it was the Hungary project, where actually people were making detectors. That's great. I mean, that's really great. And, certainly compared to 2011, let's even compare to like 2000, there were not nearly the kinds of tools that we have available. Certainly, online information tools, ways to build, interfaces or databases or mapping or whatever, and certainly not even anywhere close to the kinds of like open source citizen science based tools or things that could be devoted to that, things like sensors and whatever. And then through this process of saying, yeah, we're going to tackle this, we're going to make our own detector. I mean, it sounds ambitious and maybe from some point of view foolish or wasteful, or why do that when you can just buy one? But it's really a wonderful process. Again, with that sense of failure, with that sense of learning what works and what doesn't work and why. So this to me is a really, really beautiful thing that comes through. I think, again, I'm thinking of the difference between 2011 and now. Of course, our own project has had a certain trajectory and a certain narrative, but this makes me understand how far citizen science for radiation has come. that these projects could be established in all of these countries with, again, very young participants, in many cases, high school students. And of course, it requires a fairly close, I would say, direction and monitoring in most cases of the project, but it's come very, very far. And I think what we noted when we were talking about during the evaluation process, that in some countries, citizen science was already pretty well established, you know? And I remember being very surprised, it must have been 2016 or something, being at a conference, and I was sitting next to someone who had a PhD in citizen science. I think I couldn't believe such a thing existed. So there's some countries where certainly within the academic world, it's very advanced, very accepted, and it's certainly become something that has a higher social awareness. Whereas in other countries, it isn't. And, you know, you may be the first person doing that, if not in the country, but in your region or in your town. So this is, to me, also a beautiful thing. And I think you referred to, like, maybe in the future that these things could be integrated into, like, curriculum so that they become mundane. Was that, oh, that was you again. He's another great quote. We have felt the same thing. I mean, going back, you know, 10 years or more, what would the future be that we would like to, you know, to see happen? And it was a world where people were gathering and sharing data all the time, just as a matter of course. And of course, the tools have become easier, and people do that to some degree with their, you know, maybe their health data or things on your phone. We could imagine a situation where this was just sort of a norm in society, where everybody was monitoring the environment and sharing information about risks or about changes, et cetera. And that could be something that will happen in our lifetime. I really hope it does. You know, there's so many things I'm thinking about. Oh, one other thing was, you know, listening to the description of all your projects, they ended up all being very local and well adapted to the specific needs and requirements and understanding level of the communities that you engaged with. So, you know, there is no one size fits all for these things. I mean, there may be some projects where there's a strong, you know, guideline or certain parameters that are set, and everyone will simply accommodate themselves to that. But I think to be effective, especially as a learning process, and especially if the goal is to engage people in the community for a long time, it has to be that way. It has to be, yeah, it's about individuals, it's about your local community, it's about the history, it's about the geography. For something like RadoNorm, it's about all of these things. So that is also something that comes through here, and I hope becomes a kind of enduring lesson from this. Again, scientific literacy, that theme comes up time and again. And for this, because most of these projects were sort of framed as educational projects and often taking place in schools. And everyone knows that basically most people have no real understanding. Very few people had any real understanding or awareness of radon. And it's funny because in the United States, I'm thinking back 20 years, there was kind of a boom in these commercial sort of radon mitigation services, and sometimes they were a bit scammy. So I think, and maybe in the US, more people are aware of this, even if they've decided that that's just, you know, nonsense, I don't need to think about it. But scientific literacy is key for so many things we need to make decisions about. So many things that, you know, citizens require that kind of literacy along with things like media literacy in order to be good citizens and to uphold our responsibilities as citizens. And again, I think of the case of the United States, which is very dismal in that regard. There's so much anti-science, so much anti-intellectualism, so much fake science, woo, all kinds of things that people believe in their mental models of how the world works. Well, science is essential. And I think very few countries have done a very good job of educating people well, certainly in the secondary school level in science. And the challenges we face, certainly climate and everything else, require this kind of scientific literacy. So I think, again, and this was part of the project design, that the way to do this is through hands-on experiential learning. And again, this brings us back to this, you know, how do you fit that to the abilities and knowledge and skill level of the people you're working with? But hands-on participation as the best way to learn is absolutely our experience. And, you know, we didn't really set out with that as you know, prior expectation. It's simply as we did it, like, well, why did it become important for us to make it possible for people to build their own radiation detector? Well, because then they own it. They own the knowledge, they own the project, it's part of their identity. And this is something I think is very, very important. And then I guess a question about, again, the future, where this may lead, and it may be part of, again, the overall project design, but there is all this data now. And I have the sense that most of your projects will be scalable. And there's some people refer to that maybe at different schools in different regions or different populations. Maybe these could become long-term projects, developing a very important scientific database, I mean, real scientific data on radon that could actually be actionable, that could lead to better governance of these risks and better allocation of resources, of government funding, et cetera, for this sort of thing. And I encourage everyone to be that ambitious. So I guess that's about all for me that I want to say, but yeah, I'm really impressed with the results, and I have not been following closely since the initial evaluation period, and I wasn't sure what I would find when I come and to meet you and to hear your projects, but it's really, really impressive, and I encourage you to build on this either in your individual careers or as members of your communities, as teachers, as educators, as scientists. So again, thanks to you all, and thanks again to the flashing developers here, at Share, and I hope it continues.
Thank you very much, Matthew. Thank you very much. So just before we conclude this webinar, just tomorrow there will be an announcement because we've done a lot of work. So part of this has been to prepare for application. We applied for this European Union Prize for Citizen Science. There's high competition, but tomorrow there will be the announcement of who are the winners. There are different types of winners, so we need to be connected at some point tomorrow to see what's going on. Yes. And
are you hopeful?
Well, there's high competition. I don't know. You always need to be hopeful.
Last week was more than 200 projects needed, so, but we are good.
There's only 3 winners, and then there are honorary mentions. This is what we were found. Yeah. So we will tell you tomorrow more about this. Yes, fingers crossed. Well, thank you very much. With this, we'd like to conclude this excellent session and to thank you again, to all the citizen scientists also who collaborated in this project. And thanks again, a big round of applause again, and to Advi for your insight and collaboration. And maybe we can invite Susan to close the recommend, the 10th recommend, and let's see what happens next year, or in 2 years, or in 5 years. If there will be more recommends.
Yeah, and part of me can't believe it's actually over already. I mean, it's been a bit of a whirlwind of not even 48 hours. We started sort of quite late yesterday and got through an immense amount of work. And then we started reasonably early this morning and have got through even more vast amounts of listening, of talking, laughing, and all of the rest of it. So it's been quite a really intense, really interesting couple of days. So I want to say a massive thank you for all of your participation, people who came along voluntarily, people who had to have their arms twisted. It varies. And obviously the Share team have varying skills on the persuasion kind of publicity side of things. This was our 10th anniversary, and I think, it's been a success from the point of view of celebrating how far we have all travelled. I was thinking even back to some of so not even the very first, but some of the sort of the 2016 version, which I think might have been the first one that had a declaration. So there have been a couple of recommend declarations. And if we look back at some of those declarations, you think, oh my God, you can really see how far we have come as a community. Some of the things that were being called for in those early declarations, to some extent, have already been achieved. The Shared Bureau will be meeting later to contemplate whether do we want a recommit declaration from this 10th anniversary event to demonstrate some of that movement and perhaps for advances, what's new on the agenda. So we may be back in touch specifically on that topic. If people who are unfamiliar, declarations have been statements that have come out of the conference work. There has been lots of kind of collective effort after the conference to agree forms of words, and then people are asked to sign up as individuals or institutions, and that declaration is put out and disseminated. So it's kind of like a very specific statement on behalf of the whole community. So we will be in touch with you if we pursue that. I guess another couple of just sort of notices, in case you haven't heard, we're not organising this next year, or rather I literally do no organising of Recommit. It is entirely in the hands of other people, and very particular, Tanya, Mary, Nadia, and people that they cajole, and Evgenia, of course, into doing it. And it's they're always great occasions, I feel, and each one has their own character. And I always come away having taken different things away from the meetings. So yeah, we will be, do feel free to come forward and volunteer to organise something in future years. The other announcement is more share related. Again, you may be aware that the regulations that are written into how share works require some of the Bureau to step down from their roles because we will have served the period of time that we are supposed to serve on the Bureau. So very soon there will be some announcements inviting nominations for some of the positions on the Bureau, and we will let people know about what the process for elections will be, and then that will happen around the General Assembly date, which I do not have in mind. What's
Thursday in September?
First Thursday in September. Yeah, first or second Thursday in September. It's written in the rules, the legal documents that establish chair. So yeah, so the beginning of September is the General Assembly, and we will organise the elections or the ratification of the election outcome at the next General Assembly. I think that's all of that for notices. So yeah, back to this Recommit. We have had a wonderful time. Thank you so much. I mean, I think this last session in particular is leaving me going away really joyous about the enthusiasm and the amazing work and engaging young people in particular in all of this work. It's really kind of heartwarming, I feel. So thank you and good luck for tomorrow. In closing us down for now, I know some people are lucky because they're staying here all week. Some of us are not. There is a reception outside, so there are wines and soft beverages, I assume, available, not food. So yeah, please join us for the reception outside. Thank you once again. Safe travels home when you eventually embark on them. Thank you.